are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Marriage Adventure Podcast. We're your hosts, Daniel and Bonnie Hoover. And today we're going to talk about something that impacts every marriage, whether you realize it or not.
Yep. Today's conversation is all about the idea that men need a mission.
Yes, we do.
And not just for work. I mean, it comes naturally at work, and not just for productivity, but for the health of their marriage and their family. Because when a man feels aimless, bored, or disconnected, it doesn't just affect him. It affects the whole family.
Yeah, and we want to say this right up front. This episode isn't about blaming men or putting pressure on you guys.
No, it's just about understanding how God designed men and how that design actually brings safety and clarity and connection into a marriage when it's lived out well.
Yeah, so whether you're listening as a husband or wife or both of you together, this conversation really matters.
Yeah, this is important because when a marriage lives on mission, it stops drifting and it starts moving forward. And I think we all want that forward motion in our relationship.
Yeah. So years ago, I read this phrase in a book, and man, it really stood out to me, and I've used it a lot. And it's this: when men are bored, men get in trouble. And man, that is so true. My grandma, my Mama Lola, she used to always say, idle hands are what?
Devil's workshop.
Are your Mima said it too? Your grandmama?
Yeah. Well, and this even starts from the time, I think we've even seen this with our son. That our son needs to be incredibly busy. We need to wear him out with sports or things like that keep his mind and his body busy so that he doesn't just... it's not that he's going to get in trouble, but just
or he might
it just becomes lazy and just, aimless.
Yeah, and I think that's a good illustration. If you're bringing up boys, you see this in their life is boys and in older boys, men tend to drift towards apathy or towards laziness or towards wasting time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the world that's been created for little boys, right? And so
the problem is when it carries over into adulthood.
Yes.
And then if it's not addressed from the time that the child is young and the boy becomes a man but doesn't live like a man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is a reason I think that when kids are young, sports are so good. They get pushed. Boys need to be, I told this to a couple the other day that I had here at the farm. They had a boy, and the mom was like, "Oh, I don't want," and she kind of wanted to soft pedal it a little bit and baby him a little bit, and the husband was like, "No, we need to push him." And boys need to be pushed. Boys need to be coached. Boys need to be made to do hard things, made to do things that they don't like, and that they have to say, "Oh," to do. And that's just the nature of it. And
I've heard you tell Colby before, Bud, guys, women have babies and men lift heavy things.
That's right. I got that from a friend of mine, and it's so true. Women, y'all have to have them babies, and guys, we just get to lift heavy things and do manual labor one day. And how that came about, saying that to Colby, was we were out spreading rocks or something, and there's nothing worse than either digging a hole or spreading rocks, right? And so, and he was just like, "Oh, why didn't Josie have to do any of this?" And I said, "Buddy, women have babies and men get to lift heavy things. So would you rather have a baby?" No.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to it.
That's good. Yeah.
And it's so true. But yeah, when men get bored, men tend to get in trouble, and they give to apathy, and it's so against the way God created us. And this struggle, it's common and it's subtle and it's also misunderstood. And at first it's an issue of direction. It's a directional issue. We don't have purpose. We don't have mission. We don't, all of that. But in time, it can lead to a moral issue. Because again, when men don't have direction, when they get bored, they get in trouble and sin idle hands. It's the devil's playground, right? The devil is just waiting for a man that doesn't have purpose, doesn't have mission, to lead him into sin.
Well, and God designed, God had a very specific design for man and woman. And even before God created Eve, if you look back in Genesis, you can see God had a purpose for the man. And in Genesis 2:15, it says, "The Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden for a purpose, to work and keep it." He had something he was told to do there, to cultivate and to keep the garden and to help produce things and to be productive. And so they were designed to build and guard and have responsibility over some things. And God gave that mission even before He created Eve. He kind of put man in charge of stuff.
Yeah, God created us to be cultivators, to be creators, to drive things forward. And I remember years ago, I saw this documentary. I love documentaries because I'm a man over a certain age. And you either like to smoke meat or watch birds or historical documentaries.
Oh my gosh.
After over 40. That's you have to.
Funny.
Sorry. And so I got invested in this documentary called The Men Who Built America. And it was all about these men and their families at the turn of from the 1800s to the 1900s, the turn of that century. Man, all the Industrial Revolution, and when railroads were coming about, and the building of the skyscrapers, and then the invention of the airplane and the automobile, and all that happened around the turn of that century in those 20 to 30 years that just propelled America forward. And that God created men to be those creators, those dreamers, those drivers, those pioneers, and not to be, and it's happening again with this whole tech revolution and AI and all that kind of stuff. Another whole thing's happening. But God created man to be that, to build and to lead and to do all that. And when we're not, we give way to passivity. And in that mission, it's interesting you read that mission came even before God created Eve. So the mission came before the relationship even, which is very interesting. And so, Bonnie, from your perspective, from a female's perspective, what does it feel like when your husband, whoever that guy is, doesn't have direction, versus when I do?
Yeah, let me just say, let me take it from the perspective of when you do. You're different when you have mission and you feel purpose.
It creates a whole nother set of issues for you.
Well, but you're happier.
Yeah.
Which, if we've found that you set the culture of our home, and if you're not happy and you're bored or you're not feeling like you're being productive or creating, you start shutting down. And then it becomes difficult for the rest of us, because you don't feel passion about something, and that makes it hard for us. But when you are, you feel purposeful and have mission, and you're leading, and it feels like safety, and it's refreshing, and it feels lighter and easier for us. It's like, okay, well, we'll get in the boat and go with you. That's great. But I think a lot of times, when men when they don't have direction and they're aimless and aren't really leading in the family, women feel the pressure to step up and lead. And God didn't really create us to do that. And
not in that capacity.
Not in that capacity. I know I can lead our kids, and there's some things that I can instill in our kids, but it feels a lot different when you're leading it and have support, or I have the support, behind me. So yeah, and I think sometimes women feel like they're going to have to, if a man's not leading, then I've heard a lot of women say, I feel like I've got another kid. It's just like having another kid. And that, you don't want to feel that way about your spouse. Like they're not your teammate and your leader, that you're having to parent somebody else, an adult. That's not fair.
Yeah. But there's also a difference between just activity and being just busy for busy's sake and intentional leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And that can also play havoc in a family. When a man is busy at the wrong things,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to busy in the right things in leadership. And sometimes those wrong things aren't necessarily sinful things, but I think it can become sinful in a way when it's stealing time and money and energy and attention and connection from our family.
And that's just as frustrating for a wife.
Yeah.
As,
And that, we're probably talking about hobbies
mm-hmm.
there, different things like that, whether, guys have different types of hobbies. And I think hobbies are a really good, healthy thing when they're done in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
But when we catch more vision for that hobby than we do leading our family in the direction God's taken our family, then that hobby doesn't, I've heard you say, when I do a hobby, when I'm involved in a hobby and it breathes life into the family, it's good for me, it's good for everybody. You want me to do that.
Yes.
But there's a line that can be crossed.
Mm-hmm. There's a time where you can become so absorbed into that you forget about your family and you're leaving us behind, and it not only sucks you into a different world that we're not part of, but then you become self-absorbed.
Mm-hmm. And I see this a lot in couples when the kids are little, like birth through 6, because
that's hard.
It's hard. It's the most physical part of parenting, physically exhausting, and the little kids usually just aren't involved in things that the man likes. Right? They can't go hunting with them. They can't play sports at that age, or they're usually not. They're playing with little toys that guys are like, oh, really? That's awful, exhausting, right? There's nothing fun about that. And so some of the things, those are the highest nurturing years, just the cuddling and the tedious nurturing, and that men may not be good at.
Yeah.
And so I'll see men disconnect from the family more in those years and either slide more into work or into hobby. And so sometimes especially if a boy is older or a girl's more athletic or something, if the father has an athletic bent, they'll re-engage during those years. But it's sometimes it's just not healthy. So on the other side of this, I want to talk about what happens when men lose mission. If you're like us and most people, you're always on your phone scrolling reels and stories. Well, instead of just mindlessly doom scrolling, check out our weekly marriage coaching. Every Monday afternoon, we drop a new, short marriage coaching video on YouTube. These concise tips and biblical insights will help you reconnect with Christ and your spouse all week long. Well, if you're loving this podcast, you'll love these bite-sized practical videos. So look up The Marriage Adventure on YouTube and give your marriage 10 minutes this Monday. I guarantee you'll feel the difference.
So today we're talking about the fact that men are created to need mission, and so Daniel, let's talk for a minute about what happens when men lose mission.
We drift, and drift. We drift instead of living intentionally, and so when we lose mission, we either sink into something. We either sink into hobbies, like we'd mentioned earlier, or we sink into the couch. We sink into apathy, or men can sink into sinful things, like addictive things, like alcohol or pornography or different things like that. But we drift, and it puts that, and you'd mentioned this earlier, it puts that yoke of leadership, burden, responsibility on our wife to feel like she has to step into that. And so when we lose mission, we don't live intentionally. We become consumers instead of
Producers.
providers.
Yeah. What does it look like? So today, I know that this is a lot of women listen to this, but a lot of men are going to be listening to this, and we've kind of we're focusing this towards husbands. And I know the last thing they want to hear is another woman telling them they're doing something wrong. So that's not the point of today. But I'm going to allow you to kind of speak more to men today, and maybe give you a female perspective. But how does this drift, or what does this look like in the marriage relationship? Because you work with couples a lot and you see this.
So there's kind of two common traps here. One is overworking versus passivity. And so, and I think
two extremes.
Yeah, two extremes. And so I think the balance is in somewhere in the middle. And so let's just take overworking on the right things, overworking with mission, right? And so this whole thing is men need mission. But the problem is when that pendulum swings too much to that mission side, mission can eclipse relationship. And we've had that in our marriage where I was so focused on the mission that, it's the old story of the general that walks so far ahead of his troops that they end up shooting him because he's so far ahead they didn't even realize he was one of theirs anymore.
Yeah.
And so the leader that gets so focused on mission, but it eclipses the relationship with the wife and with the kids, then that's not healthy for the family. And so, or the other side of that is passivity, like we've talked about, that we just fall into this,
whatever,
and we.
Or you're so tired from giving maybe direction somewhere else, you come home and you're passive at home.
Yeah, you've given everything at work, and you just kind of think that the home is going to be the wife's domain. And so I'll just come home and disengage because I did my thing at work, and I brought home the money.
Kind of my right now to relax.
And I love what our pastor says. He said this before, and I almost wanted to be and amen, gave an amen. And but he said, guys, we need to get up early in the morning, and you need to eat your breakfast, work out, go to work hard all day, your 8 hours, come home. Like a wrestler tags into the ring, you're tagging in at home, and you take those kids, give your wife a minute's rest or break to gather herself, cook dinner, whatever she's going to do. You take over with the kids, and then you help with bath time. You help clean up the kitchen, and then you get the kids in bed and spend a few minutes with your wife and fall in bed exhausted at the end of the day. Get up the next day and do it again. Yeah. And you've got room in your life for one hobby, about 1 or 2 hours a week.
Women everywhere going, amen, amen.
And there you go. And that's, and that sounds exhausting, but we get mission and joy from that. It's kind of like an engine of a car, or I'll give you an example. I've got a generator on our RV. And that generator for 360 days out of the year just sits and doesn't run because I don't use it that often. And so, but generators were made to run. It's like engines of cars. Cars don't do well if they're not run.
That's a good point.
And so they're not meant to sit years and years and not. And so, just like that generator, when I turn on the AC in that RV, that generator runs better because it's got a load on it, right? And so men were designed to be the same way. We were designed to run, and we were designed to have a load on us.
Yeah.
And so, not overload, but we were designed to run and have a load on us. And that's a great picture of that. Get up in the early in the morning, have your morning scripted, get to work your butt off, come home, work there with your wife. And it's okay to take 30 minutes to unwind, in some form or fashion. I typically tell couples that you don't need to do that at the same time. Work it out to say, hey, I'm going to get home, and if you have a stay-at-home wife, I'm going to tag in and let you take a breather because the kids aren't listening to you anymore.
Exactly.
At that point in the day, and now a fresh voice comes in, and then maybe, after the kids go to bed, before we go to bed, I'm going to take 30 minutes and kind of aimlessly, do something mindless or, what have you.
Or maybe it's right after work, going and running a couple of laps on a treadmill or running
that's
a
right,
couple of laps.
before you come home.
Yes.
I've told guys that too. Maybe that's when you go to the gym leave work at 4, go to the gym for an hour or so, and then come home so that
Yeah.
and so I think, but those two things are kind of the common traps. But you asked how it shows up in marriage, and it shows up typically in two ways. One is in disengagement,
Mm-hmm.
emotional disengagement, or two, escaping into distractions.
Mm.
So, and both of these things can happen,
Yeah.
right? Not just one or the
Mm.
other, but both of these things tend to happen. That we disengage emotionally from our spouse, from our kids. We're kind of there. We might do something here that we're just not. We're not there. We're not connected. We're not
Mm-hmm.
engaged. We're not intentional in that engagement, and then we just slip into the distractions. And maybe that's football, because goodness, football's on
All the time now.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday,
Thursday nights now.
Thursday nights. There's Monday night football. There's Thursday night football. Then you got high school football Friday night. College
Yeah.
starts early on Saturday, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe it's baseball. Then it is on every day. Maybe it's your sport, whatever it is. Or maybe your distraction is video games. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe your distraction is fill in the blank, right?
Yeah. Lots of things. Well, and for women, that's really hard because, I mean, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or whether you're working a job full-time and coming home to the kids the same way, you're looking for emotional connection from your spouse because maybe you have been home all day with the kids and you're wanting adult interaction. And if your husband comes home and he's disengaged emotionally because he's just over the day, he's over it, then where does that leave the wife?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, see me, I'm here. And that's we see that a lot where women are like, I'm here, show me attention. And years of that, and the wife is done.
Yeah.
You didn't see me, and now the guy's back. Oh, I'm about to lose this, and the woman's like, it's too late,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's dangerous.
I remember that one of my favorite cartoon movies was The Incredibles. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And Mr. Incredible, he used to be a Superman. He used to be a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be Mr. Incredible. And then, superheroes, they outlawed him. And so now he's just working a humdrum office job, and he's not living on his purpose. He was
Mm-hmm.
made to be Mr. Incredible,
Yeah.
and he's not. And you see it in him. It's just this big guy that's not living for the reason he was created. And then I remember so many times through the movie, his wife, Mrs. Incredible, the kids would do something and she would say, engage. Engage.
Yeah.
In other words, like, your son is doing something. Will you address it with
Yeah.
him?
Yeah.
Like, stop watching the TV. Engage.
Yeah.
And that's really what I think a lot of wives are desiring. And it sounds like we're picking on the husbands. This episode's about husbands, right? We'll do
Yeah.
one about the wives. But I think so many wives are saying, engage.
Mm.
Would you engage while you're here? Engage
Yeah.
with me. Engage with the kids.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe it might be helpful because I know that seems like a daunting thing for men. Okay, really? I mean, go to work, do all the stuff, then come home and then work more, and then how do we put this? I guess put the cookies on the lower shelf so this feels attainable for a man
Mhm.
because this is a lot.
Yeah.
I can only imagine if a man's listening to this, he's like, I don't even know what else I got to give.
Yeah. I tell guys all the time, this isn't hard.
Mm.
It seems hard. It may not seem like it's in your gift mix. But guys, you do much harder things at work.
Mm.
You do much harder things in the CrossFit gym or in your gym than this, right? If you played high school sports, you did much, right? You can do
Yeah.
this. It's just leveraging that ability that you have in other areas, or that discipline that you have in other areas of your life, and pulling it into this area. And so we can leverage that. So what does biblical leadership look like, kind of in a nutshell? Here's a few things. Leadership, it's not control or dominance. Leadership is responsibility. It's ownership, right? Most wives, it's not like, I don't think you don't want to be a part.
Right.
You just want the encouragement and support.
Right.
You want to feel like you have a partner.
Yes.
And so not me to just come in and take over. And I've known that to where husbands have been so mission oriented that they come in with a steel,
An iron fist.
an iron fist, or not a steel one, an iron fist. That was the word I was looking for. And they come in with an iron fist, and it throws everything off. So that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about control or dominance. We're talking about encouragement, and we're talking about responsibility and ownership. And there's a lot of things in the home that you really lead out on, but my leadership is encouragement or support, or
how can you empower me
empowering you.
Yes.
And yeah.
Well, and when it comes to the kids, our kids are in a season of they're teenagers, and so this is not a physically as taxing season as it is emotionally, and you're that emotional support of, we discuss things and how do we parent through this, and it's like, oh, this happened today, how do I handle this, and you're the encourager of, let's talk about this together with the kids, or giving me the direction for how to lead in that when you're not here. That's tremendous amount of leadership, and even though you're not here for the day-to-day, it's like, even earlier I was like, okay, how are we going to handle this video game thing over the holidays? Because with Colby, you got a new video game. It's like we put limits on that. It's a holiday. How much are we? We make those decisions together, and that empowers me and it makes me feel like I'm supported in that, and like I'm not always having to
be the bad guy
all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's helpful.
So husbands, there's a difference between delegation and abdication, and so we can delegate tasks, or in your marriage, you're going to have certain things that you're naturally gifted at, and that your wife is better and naturally gifted at.
Yeah.
But if you look at the leader, just take it from organizational leadership. If you look at a great leader in any organization, they're not going to be better in everything than everybody in every department.
Right.
They're just not. But what they can do is encourage and equip all of those people to do their job better, to put a bullseye on the wall, give them a mission, say, hey guys, this is where we're going, use your unique gift and however I can help, right? And so husbands, we can delegate tasks, but we can't delegate the responsibility of that. And it is really easy when you're not over a certain task to just forget about it. But like there's things, Bonnie, that you do that you don't want me inserting myself into. It's just going to mess up your rhythm, up. It's kind of that keep my hands out of your chili, right? You got stuff going on, and you don't want me to get in the mix of that and start telling you what to do.
Yeah.
But you do want support in that, and to make sure that it's resourced, and to make sure that you have what you need to run the home the way you want to run it.
Well, and I think that comes back to the question we like to ask: how can I help?
Yeah. Yep. And then also, husbands, we also need to set the emotional climate in the home, and there has to be grace in that, right? We're not going to be happy, joy every day. Every day is not rainbow and Care Bears, right? You're going to have days where you're upset, or where you're melancholy or whatever it is. But for the most part, as we're looking at overarching climate of the home, you set that. And we need to set that towards a positive, loving, encouraging, life-breathing climate, and not one that sucks life out of people, or that people never know what kind of mood you're going to be in, right?
Well,
so
that makes things feel safe for the whole family when you do that and provide clear leadership. So,
I think that blesses the whole family.
Yeah. I mean, it brings peace in the home for sure. And the kids have confidence knowing mom and dad are on the same page, and it keeps tension down in the marriage. When a husband's leading the way God's designed, and he's got a mission for where we're going. And I don't want this to sound like that the husband's got to be perfect. He doesn't. But he does need to be clear. Yeah. And
engage.
Yeah, engage.
That's so funny. But and you know what? It's good. It restores the man too. It's good for the man too, to live on mission. It brings focus, it brings clarity, it brings stability, it brings health. It's like that engine on your car running at an optimal level, right? Instead of spitting and sputtering.
And and I think it's important, as if a wife is listening, we're not saying, okay, everything's got to fall on a man, and that he doesn't get any downtime. A man needs to be able to do things that breathe life into him, and we need to allow that to a certain degree. But it's just, we do want to have leadership.
Yeah. So here's the big takeaway, guys. We don't drift into healthy marriages, right? You don't just accidentally get there. We have to be intentional, and we have to lead into them.
And when a man steps into his God-given mission, it doesn't just change him; it changes the entire family dynamic.
It does, because mission, it brings clarity, and then clarity, it brings confidence, and then confidence brings connection, and that's really what your wife and your kids are looking for.
Well, if you're listening today and thinking, we need this, but we don't have any idea where to start, then you're not the only ones.
No, that's why we created the Marriage on Mission mini course. And we've done a 3-session kind of mini series on mission here. And this week's podcast concludes that. But this Marriage on Mission mini course, we designed it to help you guys, especially husbands, seek God and find clarity and begin leading with purpose instead of pressure.
And you'll find the link in the show notes if you're looking for this. And we really want to encourage you, don't just listen, take a step today.
Yeah, because guys, when you live on mission, your marriage stops drifting.
And then your family starts moving forward.
Yeah. So look at the link in the show notes, or you can go to themarriageadventure.com and you'll see our courses there. And we want you to get that and lead your family through that. But thanks for joining us today, the Marriage Adventure Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and check us out and subscribe on YouTube to @The Marriage Adventure, and we will see you next time.